Have you ever noticed that the most effective people, whether they're creators, founders, or top students, all seem to have a secret? It's not a fancy morning routine, not a workout, not even deep work. It's something much simpler, almost invisible. They never allow the first 30 minutes of their day to be controlled by anyone else. This might sound small, but what's happening in your brain during that first half hour after waking is critical. Your cognitive filters are still forming. Your emotional baseline is being set, and your attention system is extremely programmable. Whatever you consume, first messages, news, social media becomes the reference point that shapes your decisions for hours. Most people lose their day before they even get out of bed by grabbing their phone, letting other people's urgency hijack their own direction. The danger here is that it feels productive. You're replying, you're catching up, but you're actually just being reactive. Reactivity feels like motion, but it only produces drift. And drift is the silent killer of long-term success. When you start your day with input from the outside world, your brain switches into a defensive mode. You spend the day answering instead of building, replying instead of creating, maintaining instead of advancing. Over weeks, this compounds into stagnation that we often mistake for a lack of talent or discipline. The real cause: stolen cognitive priming. So, here's the 30-minute rule. For the first 30 minutes of your day, you produce before you consume. You direct before you respond. You think before you receive. And the structure is surprisingly precise. Minutes 1 through 5 are for physical activation. Drink some water. Mobi your body. Get some light. Your physiology sets your mental speed. Minutes 6 through 10 are for written direction. Write down the 3 outcomes that would make today a win. Not a to-do list of tasks, but outcomes. Outcomes drive better choices than checklists ever will. Minutes 11 through 20 are for your first creation. Start one meaningful task immediately. Even if it's just writing a few rough lines or outlining some ideas, starting before you get interrupted dramatically increases the chances you'll finish. And minutes 21 through 30 are for a strategic preview. Look at your calendar and adjust it based on your outcomes, not on other people's requests. Only after this 30-minute window do you open your messages or feeds. People who adopt this report a strange effect within days. They feel calmer, but move faster. Why? Because having internal direction reduces decision friction, which is one of the biggest hidden energy drains in modern life. But the mystery deepens here. Neurologically, early self-directed action increases what psychologists call perceived agency. This sense of control increases persistence, and persistence leads to visible progress. That progress feeds your motivation, creating a powerful loop that looks like discipline from the outside, but actually began with just protecting your mental territory. This idea spread so fast because we all recognize the theft. We've all felt our mornings get hijacked. We just didn't realize it had a name or a simple fix. The fix isn't complicated. It's defended space. And in a culture built on instant access, defended space is rare. If you want to intensify the effect, add one constraint. During those first 30 minutes, you are not allowed to consume anything created by someone else. No scrolling, no email, no headlines. Only self-generated direction and output. This single constraint forces original thinking every single day, which is a massive competitive advantage when most people are just operating in recycled thought loops. After about 2 or 3 weeks, another hidden benefit appears. Your anxiety drops. A lot of anxiety comes from a perceived loss of control. Starting each day with self-directed action restores those control signals to your brain. This stabilizes your mood, which improves your decisions, which shapes the opportunities that come your way. What looks like luck to outsiders is often just structured attention in disguise. Now, critics will say, I don't have 30 minutes. But time audits consistently show that the average person spends more than that, scrolling through fragments of content in the morning that produce zero lasting value. This rule isn't about adding time. It's about reclaiming your most valuable cognitive real estate. And if your mornings are absolutely impossible, you can move the rule. Apply it to the first 30 minutes of your work block or your study block. The principle is the same. Direction before input. What makes this rule so powerful is that it's not just about productivity. It's about identity reinforcement. Every morning, your brain silently asks, am I leading today or am I reacting? Your first action answers that question neurologically. Repeated answers become identity signals, and your identity drives your behavior far more reliably than your goals do. This is why someone with weaker goals but stronger identity rituals often outperforms someone with ambitious goals but a chaotic start to their day. There's also a timing effect that most people miss. Your willpower is at its peak before social exposure, before you see what others want, demand, or complain about. Social signals consume your regulatory energy. When that energy drops, you make impulsive choices, favoring easy tasks over meaningful ones. This is why reactive mornings produce Shalou days, and Shalou days, repeated over time, become Shalou careers. Here's a repeatable observation from people who use this rule. Interruptions feel weaker, not because they disappear, but because your brain has already locked onto a direction signal. Distraction is most seductive when your direction is absent, and weakest when it's clearly defined. To make this even more high impact, you can add what performance coaches call a proof of progress artifact inside your first 30 minutes. Create something visible every day: a paragraph, a sketch, a solved problem. These visible artifacts anchor your perception of progress, which increases your desire to re-engage with your work later in the day. And that beats forced discipline every time. If you study historical creators, scientists, and strategists, you'll find they practiced some form of this even before smartphones. They wrote before reading letters, drafted plans before meeting with others. They did it to preserve the strength of their own original signal. In today's world, that original signal is rare, and therefore incredibly valuable. Another practical method is question priming. During your protected 30 minutes, write down one hard question related to your main project, and just attempt a partial answer. This activates deeper neural search networks in your brain that will continue processing in the background for hours, often delivering solutions that feel spontaneous but were actually primed. A final hidden advantage is reputational. People who consistently start their day in direction mode become known as reliable finishers. They move priority work forward early instead of late. Early progress compounds across the week, and weekly compounding beats last-minute intensity every single time. What makes this rule feel so mysterious is that it's invisible. Nobody sees you, asterisk, not asterisk. Checking your phone. But invisible disciplines create visible results. Visible results attract attention. Attention creates influence, and influence creates leverage. And it all begins with a protected half hour that almost nobody guards. The people who get ahead aren't the ones who wake up motivated. They're the ones who wake up protected. And protection, not motivation, is the real productivity multiplier. In the end, this isn't about time management. It's about attention sovereignty. Whoever controls your first attention block of the day influences your daily trajectory, and your trajectory determines your destination. Try it for a week. The results will speak for themselves. Thanks for watching.